That was such a wonderful yoga segment. So let's keep that healthy mindset going. You know, many people know that traditional Indian ingredients can be very good for your overall health. Today, we are so lucky to have Dr. Vidya Illuri and Dr. Aarti Tangadu doing a healthy Indian cooking demo. Doctors Illuru and Tangadu are practicing endocrinologists here in San Antonio, Texas. And to them, food is such an important part of our overall health and improving it for the good. So if you're interested in what Dr. Illuru and Dr. Tangadu do, their bios are on our website, diwalisa.com, if you're interested. And I have to tell you, as a registered dietitian, I approve this segment. Let's watch.
Hi, friend. Hi, Aarti. How are you? Good. Nice to see you. Nice to see you too, as always.
How have you been?
Good.
Good. Right. Well, first we'd like to say thank you to Vijaya for that lovely introduction. So like you said, Aarti and I are both endocrinologists in the San Antonio area, and endocrinologists are physicians that specialize in diabetes and hormone management and metabolism. So Aarti and I met actually a long time ago, over 10 years ago in college, and we knew each other. But we weren't that close, and we kind of just went our separate ways. So I had moved to San Antonio, I think about 5 years ago, and about 1 year after I moved here, Aarti had reached out to me through social media, actually letting me know that she was gonna move here. She's an endocrinologist. And we started talking, and we found out that we have daughters that are like the exact same age. They're literally 1 month apart in age, and we just became really good friends since then.
Yeah, so we ended up I ended up joining a different practice than hers, but we connected immediately when we got here because we just had so much in common. And my husband and I were actually building a house kind of down the street from here, and we were at Vidya's house for dinner and noticed that the house in her cul-de-sac was on sale. And so we scrapped our plans and decided to move next door to her because we just love each other that much.
Yes, we do. Best decision ever.
And it has been so awesome to have a friend, a colleague, and a sense of community here that is just so supportive, which we both know is super important to health. And we've both sort of been on this food journey together, which we'll be talking to you guys more about. And we're both very, very passionate about diabetes. So in San Antonio, diabetes affects more than 14% of our population. And that statistic is from 2014. Now, diabetes rates are increasing by about 1.5% a year. So now in 2020, it's probably more like 20%. And a lot of people have prediabetes and don't even know it. Actually, most people who have prediabetes, which is a precursor to diabetes, most people don't know that they have it. And so what we're really passionate about is educating people about, how do we optimize our lifestyle to prevent progression of these chronic diseases that are so prevalent in our community, and maybe even treat or reverse some of these diseases if possible to reduce the burden of medications. And for both of us, we've both had a lot of metabolic disease in our families. We're both Indian, and we come from communities that are very, very basically plagued by things like diabetes, hypertension, cardiovascular disease, and we share a lot of commonalities in that way with our majority Hispanic population here in San Antonio. And so we have both grown up with a passion for metabolic disease, and we have, like I said, we've been on this journey about nutrition together. And so, like we mentioned earlier, when I moved to San Antonio, I joined a different practice, which was very big and a wonderful experience for me. But as my second child was born, I realized a lot about myself, and I really realized that I loved relationships with my patients, and I wanted more of that. So I started a practice that's really focused on the patient relationship, and I have longer visits than I did previously. But on that journey, I recognized the power of nutrition. And as a diabetes specialist, I always knew that nutrition was incredibly powerful. But when it came to myself, after my son was born, I was really struggling to keep my head above water. My husband's an ICU doctor. We had 2 little ones. I was working full time and just wasn't feeling healthy. I was feeling fatigued. I was having migraines. I was having joint pains. And then my nanny actually taught me about plant-based diet. She's a nutritionist from Brazil. And I was desperate. So I was like, okay, I will try this. And immediately I started feeling better. Then my husband jumped on board. He lost all the baby weight that he'd gained from my pregnancy.
And how that happened.
And then some of my other family members joined, and I started looking at the research and science, because the power of just changing diet was so immense for me and my family. And of course, my best friend and neighbor is an endocrinologist. So when I started reading the literature, I was like, I have to share this. And
I was literally getting a text message maybe every 30 minutes about a new article, like, check out this on plant-based nutrition and diabetes. Well, look at this and look at that. And I was like, okay, I really need to look at this. And it's funny because just like Arthi, when I moved to San Antonio, I also realized that nutrition is just so important for the management and prevention of diabetes and heart disease, right? And we were both figuring that out. So around the same time that Arthi was transitioning into plant-based nutrition herself and doing all the research and getting her certificate in it, I was starting a food blog. So I have a food blog called Dr. Lurie's Pantry, where I share healthy recipes for my patients and the San Antonio population. So at that time, I would say, I was posting recipes that were avoiding flour and avoiding sugar, but I didn't take the plunge into fully plant-based until really Arthi and I got together and talked about it. I was really promoting more of a low-carb lifestyle, avoiding the flour and sugar. But part of it, I was like, oh, are you sure we should be eating sweet potatoes again, Arthi? Are we sure we should be telling our patients to eat that much fruit? And it turns out that you can, because when you go plant-based, you actually reverse your diabetes to the point where you can process these healthy foods again.
Yeah, so it was really interesting because there's so many different messages out there from different physicians and different members of our healthcare community. And so for me, I thought it was very confusing for patients. And so that's why I thought, okay, if just like I prescribe a medication based on studies and studies and studies, I wouldn't prescribe a pill just because I read it on Google, right? And so I decided to delve into the nutrition science from that way. And there's still a lot of question marks in nutrition science. Don't get me wrong, there's not a one-size-fits-all diet, but I think for most of us, we can benefit from eating more fruits, vegetables, whole grains, legumes, those kinds of things, and limiting things like processed foods, added sugars, sweet beverages, sugar-sweetened beverages, and sticking to more whole foods like the produce section of the grocery store if that's possible. And we both understand that it's not a one-size-fits-all approach, and it's about progress, not perfection. And we hope that today we can just talk about things that might help you take the next step towards your health.
Mm-hmm. Definitely. And just the importance of community and family. I mean, Arthi and I talked about how we literally live next door to each other and our kids are very close friends. And one thing we do together is we make dinners together and, we share food as a community. And one thing is we're teaching our children to eat healthy. And what that means is more meals at home, having our kids help out in the kitchen and just doing these simple things helps our children understand at a young age, I would say, how important nutrition is and that they can do it. I mean, they start to like it if you're doing it on a daily basis and you're bringing them into the kitchen.
Yeah, and it really does start with our kids, and we want to set our kids up for success. We don't want them to have to transform their diets when they're in their 30s. We want them to know the things that we know so that they can make healthful choices for the future. And we really hope that for all of the kids in our community, because, we have growing obesity rates, childhood obesity rates, prediabetes in 1 out of 5 adolescents. It's really important for us to be changing the trajectory of health for our children. And both of us with little kids and school-age kids, we really want to be part of our communities and our school communities to be able to help people make better choices, because people sometimes don't know. And also, if we can normalize healthy, then our kids stand a much better chance. And we hope to be powerful voices in that space. We also wanted to extend our community beyond our patients. So we're both on social media. I post, Vivia is a genius in the kitchen. Everything that's pretty in here is because of her. She is really good about making recipes and displaying them beautifully and talking about the healthful benefits of food. I do not have any of those skills. And so I post more about endocrinology, diabetes, new research that comes out. You'll see my little daughter on there, who is like the healthiest eater I think any of us know. Just trying to create a community that extends beyond just the patients that we can touch in our clinic.
Sure. So with that said, we really wanted to share a fun and healthy plant-centered recipe today with everyone. And since this is a Diwali celebration, we wanted to share kind of an Indian recipe fused with like a traditional San Antonio Tex-Mex. So today we'll be making Indian spiced cauliflower chickpea tacos. So we just wanted to get started and share this recipe with you all, and then maybe you can try it at home. So the first thing that we'll be doing is getting our cauliflower and chickpeas ready. So we can just get started. So here is about 1 head of cauliflower, and then we just chopped it up into these florets, and these will shrink as you bake them. And then we've got our chickpeas. So this is about 1.5 cups of cooked chickpeas. So we actually made this in the pressure cooker overnight, but you can use 1 can of chickpeas as well. Just make sure that you rinse it before you use it. So we'll just add these two together. So it's just the chickpeas and the cauliflower here. And then here we've got our spices. So here we've got a teaspoon of paprika, smoked paprika, a teaspoon of coriander, which is actually cilantro seeds, and then you grind that up. And then a half a teaspoon of turmeric, 1 teaspoon of garlic powder, and then 1 teaspoon of cumin, and then also a half a teaspoon of salt. So we're gonna sprinkle these spices over the cauliflower and the chickpeas. And then I'll just use a spoon to get the last of the spices. And then one thing that we wanted to talk about today was oil-free cooking. So what I'm going to do next is just add a splash of water to this just to get everything mixed together. And this is a technique that you can do rather than using oil for your marinades or when you're sauteing.
And so the concept of oil-free cooking. So there are healthier oils. Those have polyunsaturated, monounsaturated fats like olive oil or avocado oil. But the thing about oil is it is really highly concentrated calories without much nutritional value. And so if you are dousing your food in oil, it's really easy for those calories to stack up. And when we have excess calories, it makes losing weight, maintaining weight very difficult. So we both are very mindful of the oil that we use, even though we do use oil sometimes. But we try to choose recipes where we can minimize the oil or use it sparingly so that we're not just adding calories without much nutritional value.
Exactly. And it's something, you'll find if you can use water in replacement with in sauteing, for example, or even sauteing in vegetable broth is a technique that we've been doing. It really significantly cuts down on the non-nutritive calories. So it's a really useful thing. So just the spices and a little bit of water in this, you get everything coated, and then we'll go ahead and bake this. And that's another piece that we wanted to show you here is we've got a baking sheet lined with a Silpat, which is just a pat that you don't have to use any oil on the pan, and it's a non-stick. You can also use parchment paper, and that would work just as well. So you want to put the cauliflower and the chickpeas on here, and then just kind of put it in a layer so not everything's touching, because you really want these to crisp up in the oven. So I like to just spread them out here, and then I'll take this oven. We have already preheated the oven to 425. Thank you, Arti.
You're welcome.
And these will go in the oven for about 35 to 40 minutes, just until the cauliflower is tender and the chickpeas actually get really crispy. So next what we'll do while that's roasting is we'll make the sauce. So we've got a blender here, and we have our basic ingredients. So this sauce is going to be a jalapeno, cilantro, lime sauce. And here are the ingredients here. So Arti, I'll just have you put everything in the blender
awesome.
while I'm cutting this jalapeno. So we have the juice of 1 lime. And while Arti is juicing that lime into the blender, I'm cutting this jalapeno, but I'm actually taking the seeds out. Like we said, we have little kids, so their spice tolerance is not that high, but if you really like spice, you could keep, any amount of the seeds in the sauce when you make it. So in there, we've got the juice of 1 lime. We've got this jalapeno that's been de-seeded, and we have about a cup of chopped cilantro. We've got 3 garlic cloves, and then we have about a half a teaspoon of salt there. And what makes this sauce kind of creamy is soaked cashews. So in the plant-based world, one of the things that we like our patients to avoid and you want to avoid when you're focusing plant-based is dairy. So one thing that you can use is soaked cashews to impart some creaminess to the sauce. So what we have here is a half a cup of cashews that have been soaked overnight. And you can see, if you look at these cashews just have gotten like big and puffy. So you can just see these that, and then it gets really soft. So when you blend these, you'll see that you'll get a really creamy sauce.
We like to do a lot with soaked cashews for our kids. My kids, we do should I put the water in too?
Like half of it.
Okay. We do cashew-based mac and cheese. We do lots of pasta sauces with cashews. Even there's some Indian dishes that call for heavy cream. Sometimes we'll substitute the heavy cream with cashew cream, just to give it that creamy flavor and that yumminess that you get from cream without all of the issues that come with dairy.
Mm-hmm.
Ready?
So we'll blend it. It's gonna get loud.
It's so loud.
That looks good. So we really like to blend it until it's really smooth. Turn it up. Oh, okay. So once that's blended, we can check on the cauliflower. Like I said, it's going to take about 35 to 40 minutes in the oven, but it's TV magic, so we magically have some cauliflower prepared over here. And then we could probably put this sauce. Just kind of take this and put this off to the side as well. So you can tell what's happened in the oven is these chickpeas have just gotten pretty crunchy, and then the cauliflower has gotten tender and developed kind of a crust on the outside. And remember, we didn't use any oil with this. So it developed this texture without oil. And just in general, roasted chickpeas are the yummiest snack. My kids love them. I know your kids love them. And you could pretty much put anything on them and it would taste really good.
Yeah, and they are a great source of protein. I know a lot of people have questions about, well, if I'm eating a plant-centered diet, how am I going to get protein without eating meat? And so lentils, beans, legumes in general are really great sources of protein. And actually some studies have shown that the quality of protein is superior to that of meat, and you don't have the issues that come with saturated fat. Saturated fat can lead to metabolic health problems. So we try to, when we're eating fat, try to focus on the monounsaturated and polyunsaturated, like from avocados, olive oil, and try to get protein sources that are from things like lentils and beans.
And what's amazing is the variety, I think, on a plant-based diet. I mean, growing up Indian, I think you get the benefit of just everything having different kinds of lentils and beans in them, but it wasn't really until I really looked into plant-based nutrition, realizing how many things really taste good in a taco that aren't meat. Like, it doesn't have to be meat. So like today we're doing chickpeas and cauliflower, but over the weekend we made mushroom tacos. You know, I've made zucchini tacos before, and I've made like pulse tacos or lentil tacos. So it's like the possibilities are endless. We had a lot of trouble deciding what to make today, even because there were just so many good options that we wanted to share with our audience. So, you know, we'll have to do this again another time, I think.
Yeah, so funny enough, my family has Taco Thursdays. I know it's supposed to be Taco Tuesdays, but we do Taco Thursdays, and it's not the same tacos. It's always something different. And sometimes we'll do like a burrito bowl or something that's not exactly a taco. But so there are a lot of different things that we can do. And the other thing that we want to stress is plant-based doesn't mean plant perfection. It doesn't mean that you never have cheese again. You don't have to eat cheese again if you don't want to, but if you do want to, that's okay too. Everybody is on their own place, on their own journey. And so plant-based just means eating mostly plants, you know, making that the majority of your meal, or increasing the volume of these unprocessed healthful foods in your diet, and decreasing the quantity of things that are processed or sugary, or things that we know are unhealthy. And we both have seen profound changes in our patients' lives and their blood sugar numbers, their cholesterol numbers, as we help them transition to a plant-centered diet.
Oh, for sure.
And, you know, I have multiple patients that have come off insulin completely after just a few weeks on plant-centric diet. And to me, that's meaningful. You know, when a patient can really change their life in a way that's meaningful to them, so they don't have to poke themselves 4 times a day with insulin injections just by changing the way they eat. And so that's really what we want to bring to our community. There are other ways to improve your health than just getting a medication, or for us writing a prescription. And I think that's where we have found a lot of meaning in medicine.
Definitely. I mean, I can't count the number of times that a patient walks in and says, well, if I'm started on insulin for my type 2 diabetes, that's it. I'm on insulin for the rest of my life. There's nothing I can do about it. And it's just, as you said, it's simply not true. I mean, you can improve your nutrition, you could improve your lifestyle, and you can get off some of these medications or reduce them. So it's just an important message we wanted to share today. Yeah. So then with that said, let's assemble these tacos. Yes. So what I'm doing right over here is just making some toppings. And of course, this can vary for what you enjoy. But we've got some fresh cut limes, and then we've got some purple cabbage, and then just sliced up cherry tomatoes, yellow and orange. And it's definitely, you know, I think you eat with your eyes. And part of, plant-centric cooking or plant-based cooking is there's just so many colors. I mean, just look how beautiful, right? I mean, we've got like almost all the colors of the rainbow here. And then let me just grab our plate.
And we have these like fancy blue tortillas
Yes.
just to add more color. And you guys may have heard the term "eat the rainbow," and trying to strive for multiple different colors of fruits and veggies a day is a great fun way to engage with the plant-based diet, make it fun for your kids. Trying to eat the rainbow. So here we have.
Yeah, let's try to get the rainbow. Let's see if we get all the colors. So like Arthi said, we've got these blue corn tortillas. And again, a whole grain, right? So when you're choosing a tortilla, we recommend corn tortillas because they're minimally processed versus using a white flour tortilla that has the refined flour and some other ingredients. So then, really, you just fill these tacos up. So I'm going to put a good portion of these cauliflower and the chickpeas in here.
Some of this sauce off to the side.
Yep. And then I'm going to put in our little taco stand here because everybody needs one of these, right?
Especially here in San Antonio, right?
Yeah. And then I'll just drizzle some of this sauce that we made previously. So this is the cilantro sauce with the garlic cloves and the lime juice, and then the cashews, remember, that make it so creamy. So you can see how creamy this is just with cashews, right? So there's no sour cream in it, there's no mayonnaise in it, this is cashews. So put a little bit of sauce on top like that. And I'll dress yours, Arthi. And then really you can just put whatever toppings you want on it. So just a little bit of sauce there. And honestly, this sauce is so good, I could probably just
eat it just like that.
Eat it just like that. And then I'm going to do a little bit of tomatoes in mine. Arthi's. Maybe a few more. Some cabbage, and then for that added crunch. And then you could just squeeze a lime on it, and then we could try it. Okay. Are we trying it?
Yeah, we can.
I'm so excited to try these right now.
I am too.
Okay. Cheers.
Cheers.
So, always talking with my mouth full, right? But, so the chickpeas are really crunchy, and then the cauliflower, it's tender on the inside but crunchy on the outside. Then you get the creaminess and the spiciness from the sauce and the fresh veggies. It's just really good.
It's a nice, refreshing lunch or dinner that, you aren't going to leave feeling too heavy with, and is also delicious and filling.
So, I really hope you all get a chance to try this recipe, and I hope you enjoy the rest of the Diwali programming.
Yeah, have fun, guys.
Thank you for joining us.